This is our first podcast in a weekly podcast that we're going to drop. We're pretty excited about this, something that John Greaves, our honored guest, our first guest on the podcast, has been encouraging us to do over the past year. So we're taking his advice, we're stepping into the unknown, and we are going to run with it. So with that, I'm going to introduce John Greaves. If you've been a part of the home gym community for any time, you know John Greaves, and you know that he's one of the most encouraging people in the home gym space that you're going to meet. And this is a pretty encouraging community, so it says a lot. And John, I'm going to pass it to you. I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about the journey too. How did it start? How did Garage Gym Life Media start? What was the inspiration? Where did it start? Was it your garage somewhere else, a studio? But just break it down for us to let us know, for those that haven't heard your story, origin story, we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I'm actually really honored to be the first person with you on the boat as we leave shore. So I can tell you that I've had a home gym since 2001. So my home gym perspective is older than Rogue Fitness.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I've seen a lot of ebbs and flows, and it has always been a place for me to process the day, prepare for whatever I was doing at the time, physically, whether it was a sport or just to deal with life. And when I was in the military, it was where I got ready for the annual physical fitness tests. And what motivated me to start Garage Gym Life was actually a little bit of a journey. So I was deployed to Iraq. We were helping take Fallujah, and after the initial battle was over, you started having a fair amount of downtime. And I started writing a book because you need something to do with your time.
Mm-hmm.
And I graduated with an English major because I was originally going to be a reporter. So I ended up not using that degree. I ended up doing other things, but my mom had always been on me. My aunt, especially my Auntie Woman, shout out Auntie Woman, had always been on me about not letting my talent go fallow. So I said, okay, I'm going to start writing a book again. All right.
Awesome.
And so I wrote a book. It was a short story, and I ended up self-publishing it. It's called A Different Kind of Giant. And of course, it incorporated fitness in it. Mm-hmm. It didn't incorporate home gyms, but it incorporated fitness. And then I also started to pitch myself to magazines. One of the first ones to give me an opportunity was Mark Bell's Power magazine, back when they still published it. And so that was really cool. But I started having roadblocks. So if for people who aren't familiar with the pitching process, it's essentially you send an email to a magazine publisher who has no idea who you are, and you have to demonstrate to them very quickly that you understand the magazine, you understand their publishing calendar, and that you have a story idea that they should put in their magazine that month instead of something else. And so one of the things that helps with that is if you're well known. So if Michael Jordan sends you an email to tell you, hey, I want to write an article for your magazine about shoes, it doesn't matter that Michael Jordan's not a writer. He's Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Because he's well known. On the other hand, you could have the best writer in the world, but if people don't know who that person is, then they're going to look for clips and think like, okay, should we use you? Whatever. All right, so Garage Gym Life became part of me just raising my presence so that when they saw my name, they would kind of say, okay, well, who's this guy? Because they would search your social media. Well, in the process of it, I started noticing that there were other home gym owners around the world, and that's a key thing for me, around the world, not just in America, not just where I lived, but around the world who were facing some of the same issues that I had faced, and in some cases, problems I had solved from 2001 until this was 2015 by this time. And so I was like, well, I need to keep on writing because writing is a skill that you build by doing it more. You need to write about what you know about, so that way you don't have to do as much interviewing people or whatever. And I said, well, what do I know about this home gym stuff? So I started looking around for what I could put out there. And I wanted to do something that other people weren't doing. So John Burgesson was already doing GarageGyms.com. He's doing reviews over there. Garage Gym Reviews was up and running, and Coop was doing reviews on YouTube. And so I was like, well, all right, I don't want to do what they're all doing. So I'm going to go to Instagram,
Hmm.
and I'm going to blog about I'm going to focus on just motivating people because I think that's an important piece. You can have all the equipment and not use it. And that was something that was actually one of the knocks on home gym ownership when I started. It was that you'll get all this equipment and then you'll hang your laundry on it. They just didn't believe that you were serious. And I remember feeling that way too before I had a home gym. When I worked in a public gym, somebody comes in, I say, man, I haven't seen you in a while, and I'm assuming that they fell off. And they're like, oh no, I just been working out at the house.
Hmm.
Immediately I'm like, okay, here we go. All right, man. Well, I'm glad you're
Yeah.
back, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Well, then I started doing it, and I'm like, oh, well, you actually can be motivated. You have to find
Hmm.
ways to motivate yourself, but you can be
Sure.
motivated. And it's actually um, encouraging to hear you say that I'm one of the most encouraging people in the home gym space because
Hmm.
that's my purpose. So
Hmm.
that tells me I'm fulfilling my purpose, the promise I
Hmm.
made to myself and by default to my audience back in 2017 when we actually really started rolling with it, when it became less of a blog and more of, hey, this is going to be a business, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that tells me that I'm fulfilling my mission.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's how I started.
yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. I would say living into your purpose is something you're certainly doing, and it's evident in all the content you create. And I'm encouraged by the content you create because we're a young company. We're trying to push something new into a space that's generally um, pretty phobic of people touching their stuff, and
Yeah.
so it's been quite a journey in seeing a content creator who started from the humble origins of a home gym and blossom into a media company in the same space that we want to grow has been pretty inspirational. So, what are some of the roadblocks that you've encountered in your early stages of Garage Gym Life Media when you knew that Garage Gym Life Media was going to be a thing that you pursued to fulfill that passion that you have?
So the first thing is my degree, like I said, was in English, minor in
Hmm.
communications, under media reporter, and I've worked at a Fortune 500 company doing insurance claims. I was in the United States Marine Corps for 8 years. I've worked outside construction in the utility industry, public utility industry. So I've done a lot of things, but so none of the things I said mentioned anything about building a business that's primarily digital.
Hmm.
And none of my training was in sales or marketing. So the first thing I ran into was trying to figure out how to let people know I exist
Hmm.
and that they need what I was providing. The thing with the home gym community is we've always been kind of insular.
Hmm.
And you kind of have to be that way because you have to be comfortable with being alone.
Hmm.
Even if your family comes to train with you, there it's still you're not surrounded by a gym full of strangers. And so as a result of that, the personality type that tends to thrive in a home gym is a lot of times suspicious, skeptical, whatever you want to call it. They keep stuff at arm's length. And so telling them, hey, I want you to regularly come to me because I'm telling you about people who you've never heard of in a lot of cases. And I'm telling you to do a thing that nobody else might be telling you to do. And you also don't know who I am,
Hmm.
was tough. So that was a roadblock. The way I overcame it is honestly just chipping away. I actually have a shirt that I just made. It's in our spring store, and it says "Stacking Days." It's like Tetris. It's like a
Hmm.
Tetris block.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like stacking days because that's really how I approach everything. It's like, okay, it's not about that one amazing thing you did that one time. It's about the many little things that were important but may not be dramatic or impressive that you stack on top of each other that end up with the Eiffel Tower.
Hmm.
Because if I just show you a bolt, you're not going to be impressed by it.
Sure.
But if I put that bolt together with some girders, often enough, I'll have the Eiffel Tower and you will notice it.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So that was the first roadblock. The other roadblock I'll tell you is what I mentioned earlier, which is I wanted to do something that nobody else was doing. So I was looking at threads yesterday, and someone said something. It wasn't even related to home gym stuff. It was, you have to give people what they need, not what you either know or think they need. And that resonated with me because I've always been the one, because of my journalistic background, to be the one that says, "Hey, it's my job to break the news," because that's what reporters want to do, right? They want to tell you about
Hmm.
something you didn't know was happening. Because in our mind, if you already know about it, why am I telling you about it? It's not
Right.
news anymore, right?
Hmm.
Maybe I'm unpacking a story that you knew about, but I'm telling you a thing you didn't know about that story.
Mm.
Well, that's not really how most people think. Instead, especially on social media, they want to see things that they already like. The algorithms are built around showing you more of what you already like. If you look at one picture of a cat on Instagram, you're going to see a lot of cats in your feed for a while.
Yep.
All right? It's not so, and it's funny because it says discoverability, but it's not discoverability of the accounts that you already follow. It's of content that the accounts you follow have posted, that other people have posted, that's like that content. So if you post a picture of a cat, I may not see your next cat picture. I'll see a cat picture from 17 other people who I don't even know existed, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was a roadblock because I always like to do things fresh. And if somebody else starts doing something that I had an idea to do that I thought was important, I lose interest. And I don't know. I'm more like, I don't want to build a house in the city, in the subdivision with everybody else.
Hmm.
I want to go out in the wilderness where nobody else is and build my house there, and come what may, you know, see what happens,
Yeah, for sure.
right? And then as soon as other people join me, okay, there's too many of y'all here. I want to go somewhere else and build a new
Yep.
house. You
Yeah,
know what I
man.
mean?
Yep.
So that's tough though, because how are you going to build traction when you're consistently moving away from stuff that people are interested in?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was something I had to discipline myself to. I'll be honest with you, I have not conquered that part of myself. Um, I really haven't. It's still a struggle, but it is. Self awareness is important. So, what's that old commercial that none of y'all have heard because you're too young? Um, Knowing yourself is the first step. Admitting you have a problem is the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sound advice. And more on advice. So you've been doing this for almost a decade. You've been creating content. You've amassed quite a following so far. There's got to be lessons that you've learned over the years that if you knew when you started would have made things a lot easier. So for other home gym CEOs out there, or people that want to start home based or home gym based businesses, and understanding that content is king in a lot of ways still, what are some of those lessons that you would have told yourself, but you could share with our listeners now?
All right. So the first thing that I would say is important is understanding your revenue model. What I mean by that is I started doing Garage Gym Life without any intention of directly making money from it. Instead, it was intended to raise my online presence. So, eh, let me back up. It's not that I didn't have a social media presence before. I had MySpace and all this
Hmm.
other stuff, right? And Facebook,
Yep.
but they weren't connected to me as a writer. So if I sent something to an editor, they're going to look at it and say, well, this guy doesn't have anything that shows that he knows what he's talking about in terms of writing anything, right? Not necessarily that he's an expert in this field, but I don't see anything that shows that he's ever written his name, much less an article, right? So I had to build my online presence. All right. So I wasn't intentionally trying to make money directly from my online content.
Hmm.
I had to figure that out later, right? Well, that's a ready, fire, aim strategy.
Hmm.
If you're going to do this, if you're just making one video, fine, don't worry about it. Just make that the best video ever and chill. But you need to, as Jesus said, count the cost before you build the tower. No pun intended, Andrew. All right. But you
My
need
last name's
to.
Towers, by the way.
Oh, that's more
Yeah.
than one tower. That's
No,
all
I
I'm
know. I'm
saying.
just saying in case people didn't know.
Oh yeah,
The pun there.
yeah. So it's the thing is that you need to say, hey, how am I going to make money at this thing,
Hmm.
right? And the reason that's important is because if you figure out how you're going to make money at it, it's going to kind of eliminate some of the distractions that will come at you, right? And you can say, all right, because you're going to get offers to do things. Let's say that video hits and is popular. Now all of a sudden you got all kinds of people reaching out to you to do things that may take you away from what you wanted to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's going to be distracting. And so I had a lot of these pitfalls. Like I'm like, oh well, let's try that. Oh, well, let's try that. Again, let's go build a house in the wilderness where nobody else is. See what happens. So number one, figure out how you're gonna make money. Number two, you need to understand taxes. You need to understand what kind of business you want. Do you want to be an LLC? Do you want to be a S corp? What do you want to be?
Hmm.
Do you want to have partners? Is this going to be just a single owner entity? Which none of this is interesting, but you need to understand that if you the IRS is very interested in how you design it, and that's going to affect if let's say you're a single owner, right? Without getting into the weeds, I'm not an accountant, but if let's say you're a single owner and you're an LLC, well, everything you make out of that business, yeah, you can write off your taxes, but it just added to your income, right?
Hmm.
So what if that's enough to nudge you into the next tax bracket, and now your taxes went up, and your wife is looking at you like, well, why our taxes go up? Oh, because of that home gym thing you started doing. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you need to reach out to an accountant. It's going to seem like a lot of money. Why am I paying for this? I file myself, my taxes myself, and
Hmm.
that's another home gym thing. Everybody likes to do everything themselves.
Yep.
Reach out to experts who are paid to do this sort of
Yep.
thing, and let an expert handle the most important parts of your business. So that's number two. Figure out how you're going to make money. Number two, allow people who do this for a living, whose livelihood depends on doing this well, to do the most important parts of your business. And you focus on the stuff that you have already become proficient at.
Right.
Because there's a lot of temptation that, well, that costs money. I don't want to do that. I'd rather do it myself.
Hmm.
And I'm telling you that that's a recipe for failure. Um,
At
or
least a lot of heartache and stress, you
I
know.
mean, well, to me, that's a failure because this is your baby. It's already going to be stressful. Why would you add more stress to it?
Hmm.
You know, if you squat 400 pounds, let's say your squat's 400 pounds, right? And you're going to go out there and you want to have a good day squatting in the gym. I wouldn't necessarily put a weight vest on first
Yep.
and then say, let's put a mattress underneath me. I'm going to squat on a mattress and make it even tougher. You know, unless your coach programs something like that, why would you make it in something that's already harder unnecessarily?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. And then the other reason for having an expert is because they will know about pitfalls that you may not know about that can affect your
Hmm.
business. So you have this bright idea and you say, well, I want to do this. And I say, well, hey, you thought about, look, this might do this to you. You know, for example, you want to use, so you post a reel, an Instagram reel or something, and you're just working out in your home gym and you've got Thunderstruck on or something like that, or 50 Cents playing in the background because that just motivates you. All right. Well, then back in the day, Instagram used to take your videos down, and people would get mad and say, "You ought to be glad that people are playing your music." And they're like, and the artist is like, "Yeah, but my music is getting people to look at your content,
Hmm.
and you're not paying me for it. Why should my hard work go unrewarded?" Right? That's another tug of war I don't want to get into, but I'm just saying that's something that someone who does this professionally would understand. Um, a lot of insights, things that they would know. Um, Another thing too, I would say is don't be afraid to collaborate with people.
Hmm.
A lot of times people are terrified to collaborate because they're afraid somebody's going to steal their idea. But I
Hmm.
told you somewhere close to the first third of this interview that you don't need to necessarily just do the things nobody else is doing. And it's actually good for you to be seen as visible in the space along with other people who already have a following. So it's not bad for you to collaborate with them,
Right.
right? Uh, and understand, I'll use an equipment analogy. So you've got equipment manufacturers who are afraid to go to Home Gym Con because they're like, well, if I go there, I've got my designs, people are going to copy my design. All right, so maybe you don't take the most groundbreaking stuff there, just take your most well-made stuff and especially because it's the stuff
Or
that,
popular stuff,
yeah, it's the
yeah.
stuff that, you show up there, and now you're in a venue where people are already programmed to want to look at home gym equipment. They come over to your booth. Maybe you've got one thing that's already out there, but that a lot of people haven't really seen yet. And you come in, and now you can kind of explain it to them. People can check it out, like the Squat Max, right? So Squat Max goes there. People are like, hey, what's it? What is that thing? What's different about it than other belt squats? Well, people start trying it. Whoa, this thing is amazing. You know what I mean? Cool. But if you say I'm not going to go because I don't want people to steal my idea, well, then now you're not in the conversation,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, there is not a single, I don't care what it is. You can come at me as much as you want. DM me, Instagram, Garage Gym Life. I don't care. Show me your example of your high dollar, high speed, low drag, brand new idea. And I promise you, somebody in the past has done it.
Yes.
Somewhere. It may not have been as successful, but
Yeah.
there is nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. I mean, our model, Go RX, we do it a little differently than Air Gym did in 2017 when they started theirs. But yeah, I mean, Air Gym was a thing for a couple of years. They blew up real quick and then, lost steam and then eventually closed. So even Go RX, this idea of opening home gyms for, rent or rack time is not new.
Yeah, and I mean, there was even there's an old YouTube video done by Spirit Treadmills, and it talks about it's got, golly, what's this guy's name? He's an old bodybuilder, one of the lighter bodybuilders. Anyway, they talk about turning your home gym into a business,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the idea's been there. I mean, heck, okay,
Sure. A lot
in
of
the
trainers do it. Hundreds of trainers
in
do
the
it, especially post-COVID.
1970s, in the 1970s, Bruce Lee was training his students in his house.
Mm-hmm.
They were exercising in his house. Lee Marvin trained with Bruce Lee on Bruce Lee's back patio, hitting the bag, all that stuff. That's Bruce Lee's home gym. One of the best grip machines I've ever used is a variation of a design that Bruce Lee created for his home gym. Okay? And he was using it as a commercial space. It's his house. So
Mm-hmm.
just calm down about people stealing your ideas. And if they do steal your idea, that's fine in a way, because I believe that things are going to come back to you. It'll come back, especially if you become known as the person, like you build up a following and you become known as a person who's innovating. Like, hey man, everybody's stealing this guy's ideas. So, man, I want to check out what he's doing,
Yep. Think of
Look,
Kaizen DIY. I mean,
yeah. I mean, look at all the stuff. And so actually it's a very good example, because there's a lot of back and forth.
mm-hmm.
So Kyle sees it as a design that's made by some company.
Yep.
He does a DIY version of it.
Yep.
That DIY version of it gets him thinking. He ends up, or one of his people in his Facebook group or his following, they're all thinking. They brainstorm something that's a left turn from that idea. Now they just created a new product, and maybe someone, AbMat or one of these other forward-thinking companies, reaches out and says, hey, let's collaborate with you to make this thing.
Yep.
So it's cyclical, right? Or look at what happened with Mutant Metals. He came out with his dip attachment, which is a variation of an already existing dip attachment. And a bunch of stuff happened, but now Rogue is offering it. The Mutant Metals version of the dip attachment.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry so much. I think it's a lot more important to be in the conversation and forefront of people's minds than it is to be the one person making this one thing that nobody can get anywhere else. There are uncounted number of Japanese swordsmiths who were the best at what they did that nobody could ever find or knew about, because they kept their stuff hidden so that nobody would steal their idea. And as a result, their stuff was hidden, so nobody bought their idea.
Mm. Yeah. Dude, it's such good advice. And I appreciate you sharing it. Those are awesome analogies too. Like, they work perfectly. I wanted to actually get into your workflows too, right? So
Yeah. Sure.
we're learning about this as, GoRX as a team. For other home gym content creators, like, what does a workflow look like for you? What are the tools you're using, the applications? How do you take raw footage or raw video, and what are you putting it through to produce the content that you are? How do you think about, your captions? How do you think about your titles and that sort of thing? What are some pieces of advice that you would give to our listeners that are curious about what they need to do in a day-to-day business or day-to-day, workflow?
Okay. That's a big question. Okay. So today, for example, get up, check my email, then I go looking for content that I can share. All right. Uh, Not the content for today. I've already got that up for Instagram. I've already posted that. Um, but this is the content for next week,
Hmm.
right? So I do my stuff a week ahead, if possible, 2 weeks ahead or 3 weeks ahead. And content is divided for me into two areas, into two categories. I know I just held up a three. Two categories. One is stuff that's original to me, and the other one is stuff that I've seen that I find inspirational that I think would inspire others,
Hmm.
or at least generate conversation and it's helpful to others in some way. Okay, so it may be somebody else's YouTube video review of a product, maybe somebody's workout that they're doing, it may be just somebody's inspirational transformation photo, maybe a picture of their home gym that just looks kind of cool, right? Uh, and so I go looking for that. Now,
May I
if it's from
ask, how do you choose? How do you know this content is right for my platform?
um So one of our core values is family first.
Hmm.
So typically, if it's something that shows a family working out together, and it's not like something bizarre, uh, you know, then I'll probably post it. And this is again, this is Instagram. Okay, what I put on YouTube is different.
Hmm.
So that's another thing. Is like you have to understand the psychology of the viewers on your platform that you're
Yep.
using, and you need to have a home-based platform too. You start somewhere, build up. Don't try to like go everywhere, right?
Hmm.
All at once, because you can. People say, "Oh yeah, I focus on three platforms." That is actually the antithesis of the word focus. So
That's great advice.
you
That's
can't
great
focus on
advice.
three things. You
Hmm.
just can't. All right. So uh, anyway, that just reminded me of when I was fighting at IKF Nationals. This is a tangent. I was fighting at IKF Nationals, and I was in the finals, and Danny Kelly hit me. Um, he actually hit me in the throat, and I
That
got
sucks.
up, and I didn't like it, and I got up,
I
and my
wouldn't.
vision was kind of off for a second, right? I
Hmm.
saw more than one of that dude, and I'm just so that was just popped in my head as far as like focus. I'm like,
Yep.
it's like, well, which one of them do I hit? All
Yep.
right. So anyway, so sorry. Anyway, the thing is, so for Instagram, it's gonna be something. Is it family focused? Is it something that represents a triumph or accomplishment? If you just hit a squat PR, I don't care if it's the bar with some chips on it, right? Man, I just did 50 pounds for the first time ever.
Hmm.
That to me is an accomplishment, and I want to celebrate it because it matters to me that you've just had a breakthrough. And I believe it's not going to be your last breakthrough, but it matters to me that you just had a breakthrough.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter if you lift more
Awesome.
than me or I lift more than you. It's your breakthrough,
Yep.
right? So those are number two criteria right there. That's going to be something that's that, and then there's entertainment value too. So I like posting a lot of stuff that Stacia Canberra does. Stacia, my hoe is her maiden name, is Stacia Canberra does. So she'll just do fun stuff, you know. So she
Hmm.
might be doing a one hand barbell snatch. The last video I posted, I shared from her was a one hand barbell snatch. She weighs 108 pounds. It was 90 pounds. She did a one hand snatch with the bar, right?
Let's go.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Let's
amazing.
go. Yeah.
Okay, and she's not even primarily a physical culture type person. She's a power lifter who also weightlifts. She's a
Hmm.
12-time powerlifting champion who also competes in weightlifting, and she does physical culture type stuff for fun,
Yeah.
right? So when I see somebody who's drifting out of their comfort zone doing something impressive, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
wow, that's awesome, right? So those are like I would say those are my top three motivating things, and some of that is also the case with YouTube. If I post a YouTube short, it's going to be related to something that if you're watching, typically if you're up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, you're scrolling through your feed. You don't want long conversations about whatever it is. You want something that's entertaining,
Hmm.
right? Maybe you work a night shift or whatever, but you want something entertaining. So I try to focus on stuff that at least will make you stop and pay attention. And then occasionally I'll give you a bite-sized chunk of something that I think is important, but you don't really have time to listen to that's long, right?
Right.
So maybe like, hey, like the one I'm working on now is things to consider when you are purchasing your first power rack.
Mm-hmm.
It's based off of an exchange I had with Prime Fitness on my threads. Well, it's technically their thread, and I had an exchange with them. It's like, well, what do you consider with a power rack with when you set up a home gym?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing a YouTube short video based upon that.
Awesome.
Which leads to the third part of it, as far as coming up with ideas. It's based off of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
If you're built for this sort of thing, your mind is constantly looking for ideas.
Right.
And you're gonna end up with more ideas than you actually post, right? Which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's better than the other way around.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, not having enough ideas. So that's it. And then as far as applications go, the ones I use the most are Repost Plus.
Okay.
That's for Instagram. I use Instagram. Facebook Business Manager.
Okay.
So I can post ahead. So I can schedule my
Is that
drafts.
how you use your schedule? Was that the schedule you use
Yeah,
for
the
meta?
scheduler. Yeah.
Yep.
Especially now that it allows you to add music in, because in the past I didn't use it because it didn't let you put music into your reels,
Mm-hmm.
but now it lets you do it. So I use that. Even though I'm not a fan of the Facebook platform,
Right.
the Facebook Business Manager through Meta it controls Instagram. So
Right.
that's where I go. And then I use Vinci Resolve for my general
I haven't
video
heard of this
editing.
one. Okay.
Oh, it's free.
Oh, no kidding.
So here's how Vinci Resolve is a desktop video editing app.
Okay.
And they have a free version, a free version, and then a paid version. So the free version is typically about 2 to 3 updates behind the paid version,
Mm-hmm.
which I love because, you know, I've got the free version and it's updated. It's on like 18
That's
or 19
pretty interesting.
now.
That's an interesting model. Yeah.
Yeah,
kidding.
I'll send you the link and,
Yeah.
and you can post it for people who watch
For
it.
sure.
So it's I use it probably 5 out of 7 days a
Okay.
week.
No kidding.
It lets you do a lot of things, now the free version is obviously more limited in
Sure.
terms of like your video transitions and what you can, your on-screen graphics and whatnot. But that's you get what you pay for, and
Yeah.
I didn't pay anything, so so
Yeah.
I'm happy. But it's a lot more.
Well, I
seamless.
mean, the content you put out clearly looks very professional. It's very well done. So free version's working for you.
Yeah, and then some of it too, man. It's I've also paid an editor. I go either on Fiverr or I use Upwork.
Yep.
Upwork used to
Two
be
great
freelance.
sites, by the way. If you don't know about Fiverr and Upwork,
Definitely, yeah.
very affordable way to find freelancers for
Yeah.
pretty much anything you need.
Yes. I used to get my thumbnails made through Fiverr
Mm-hmm.
until I got to the point where I could identify what elements of a good thumbnail were, and then I started making them myself on Canva,
Mm-hmm.
using kind of like not prototype, but just the pattern that the people I was paying on Fiverr, and I paid
Yep.
several different people
Yeah.
to just see which one worked the most. So it was like a
Yep.
lot of beta testing, right?
Yep.
So Fiverr, Upwork used to be Elance, and the reason why I use both the platforms is Fiverr is more on a contract basis.
Mm-hmm.
So I just need you to make that one thing, or I
Yep,
need
it's
you
a
to set
gig.
up my online
Yep.
store, or it's a gig, right? Now they do offer subscriptions now,
Yep.
like a 6-month subscription or something like that. But for the most part, I use it for one-off stuff. Then there's Upwork, which is more of an ongoing project. Hey, I want you to help me manage my YouTube channel, right? And the reason why I use those is because if you get somebody, remember I said get an expert to manage the important stuff? All right, so I'm uploading my content to YouTube because I understand home gym culture, I understand home gym community. What I don't necessarily, I'm not as strong in is SEO, because when I was in school, I graduated from high school. I graduated from college in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, we weren't really being taught search engine optimization.
Right.
Instead, remember, I was a journalist, so the emphasis was on fresh language, new ways of saying the same thing that nobody else had said it before. That is completely opposite to search engine optimization, because search engine optimization is saying a thing in a way that someone who's searching for an answer to the problem that this thing answers would have searched for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to think like other people. Once again, I'm telling you, I don't think like other people.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a weakness. So rather than fight against it, try to learn to think like other people, which is going to weaken me in other areas, I just hire somebody who's paid to think like other people.
Right.
right? And who's good
Yep.
at it. And Upwork is an affordable way to do it because you can kind of go, basically you bid the contract and then they say, okay, you see like your range, you tell them what your budget is and go from there. Now, I will tell you, let me pause that for a second. I was recommending Upwork to somebody who's a content creator. They're trying to get their YouTube channel. They're not in the home gym space, but they're trying to get their YouTube channel. They're stuck at 500 subscribers. They have an amazing amount of watch time because their live streams are very successful and people come on and watch this live stream of them just talking.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, they don't have any B-roll, which is video, basically video. It looks like a voiceover. So like you see a thing and then
Right.
somebody's talking about it. All right, they don't have any B-roll footage. It's just literally them just talking and interviewing people.
Mm.
And people will listen to them for up to 2 hours. So their watch time's amazing.
Yep.
But he's struggling to get past that hump, right? And I said, look, you need to hire somebody off of Upwork because obviously there's something that's out of whack with your SEO. It's causing YouTube not to recommend your video to people
Interesting.
who've never heard of you. And so I told him how much I paid for a week. And he's like, dang, that's a lot of money, right? And I'm like, okay, but to me, that represents how much you would spend in fast food
Mm-hmm.
over the course of a month,
Right.
right? So just don't eat fast food.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And particularly if you're in the fitness space, well, it's kind of help you out,
Yeah.
right? Anyway,
Yeah. Absolutely.
or what I did when I started when I knew I wanted to do this is I took a certain amount of money out of my full-time job and I just said that money's going to go towards Garage Gym Life. And I've been doing it for so long that I don't even miss it anymore
Mm-hmm.
because
I do the same thing. I do
I've
the
just been
same
doing
thing.
it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's painful in the beginning, but it's going to pay off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my channel is, well, as we're recording this, my channel is knocking on 20,000 subscribers
Let's go.
without buying subscribers. That's the other
Let's
thing. You
go.
can't do
Heck
that,
yeah.
right? So I'm not telling you illegitimate ways of doing this. I'm just
Right.
telling you, you need somebody who understands how to use Google, which owns YouTube, as your friend to help get your video content out there. So the next thing is TubeBuddy
Mm-hmm.
and Social Blue Book. All right, you don't need Social Blue Book yet when you first start out because Social Blue Book is a way for you to assess your worth if you're reaching out to brands.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but when you first start, you don't have worth except to your parents. Okay, so don't worry about paying for Social Blue Book. It does help you in the sense that they have Social Blue Book Creator Academy with courses to teach you a lot of the stuff that I'm telling you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably some of the stuff is similar to what you guys teach, but the difference is that this is all focused on digital, being a digital business,
Right.
digital content creation.
That makes sense.
And there's like some mechanic stuff, like understanding the rhythms of Instagram. Whenever something new comes out with Instagram, for example, Threads, they'll have a course about that. They have one about shorts for YouTube,
Oh, that's helpful.
right?
Yeah.
They've got the same thing for TikTok. And then they've got a Discord. And if you're a paid member of that community, you can go to their Discord and you can ask questions directly. I'll give you an example. When you go to YouTube, I'm kind of Barney styling this because I want this to be accessible to anyone. So forgive
Sure.
me if you're listening to this, watching this, and you already know some of this stuff. All right. So you go in your YouTube studio, shows you your analytics for your videos, and it shows you how much you earn per video, right? And for YouTube Shorts, it basically tells you the metric it uses is how much you earn for shorts per 1,000 views. So I recently asked a question and said, does that mean that I don't get paid on a short until it hits 1,000 views? And follow-up question, if it's only every 1,000 views, or if it's once it hits 1,000 and then get paid off that short every time it gets one view, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because my question is, okay, so if a short is if I have two shorts that are each 500 views, am I getting paid off the 1,000 views aggregate, or am I not making any money off either one of these until they both hit 1,000? And then will I not make any money again until they hit 1,000 again?
Right.
Because that tells me how I need to optimize my time in re-promoting each one of those videos on my social media platforms or whatever, right? And they were able to explain the answer to me, and just really quickly, the answer is you get paid off of every video, off of every view. It's just that it's not significant until it hits 1,000.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're gonna get paid
Yeah.
for just one view. You got paid something. You
Yeah.
know? All right.
I got a question for. So I don't consider myself social media savvy at all.
Yeah.
It's not a space I'm comfortable in creating content. It's also not where I want to budget my time. And that's me personally. So there are lots of other people out there that I think would fit that description in the home gym community. And I would even venture to say there are people that want to start a home gym business and are concerned about the content creation aspect. You talked about focus and being focused on a single platform at a time.
Yeah.
For a home gym business owner, doesn't matter what kind of business we're talking about, microgym, content creator, where is the home gym community most active, or where would you say they should go to, like, if you're going to start any platform, start here?
Okay, that's all right. I hate when people give vague answers. The problem is that the magnitude of the question you just asked me is tough. And here's what I mean. You just said, where do home gym owners go? Well, demographically, we run the gamut, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
So I will tell you.
See everyone everywhere, yeah.
My wife is a home gym owner because she co-owns our home gym.
Mm-hmm.
She loves TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am a home gym owner, and I cannot stand TikTok. I prefer Instagram, and I really prefer YouTube. Okay. I know content creators who are huge fans of Facebook. So it's a matter of, you have to kind of zero in. So, and then let me go back. You said it doesn't matter what kind of home gym business you are.
I mean, I suppose it does, of course. Yeah.
Right, because then I'm saying, so the first thing you should say is not, is it a home gym owner? Right? You're the home gym owner, right? So you have a micro gym business, you're the home gym owner. So now you got to ask yourself, where are my customers gathering?
Yep.
That's what you need to figure out. And just for example, are you trying to reach out to senior citizens who are just trying to stay in shape enough to enjoy their golden years, and preserve their range of basically have a pain-free a life as possible? Your best bet is to go on to Facebook, create a community, right? And start having ambassadors who are willing to help you. Like your current clients, start being ambassadors for you to tell people about it, right? You also need a website. If, on the other hand, you are looking at young athletes, you're like, well, why would I go to young athletes? They don't have any money. Their parents do. Let's say I want to attract young athletes to come train in my home gym with me so I can get them ready for, let's say they're trying to get college scouts out to look at them, right? They're looking for offer letters like Grit Fit Garage and 50 Barbell. All right, then in that case, what you need to have is, I would say, something where young people gather. So Snapchat, just basically one of the social media platforms where they are, and encourage the people who come to your gym to post their videos from your gym on their platforms. And then when their friends say, hey, where are you? You just say, hey, well, I'm over here at such and such. And get them to encourage their friends to get their parents to bring them over to the place where we're all gathering, having a good time.
Yeah, I agree. And that makes sense. I mean, certainly for micro gym owners, it's exactly what you want to be doing. You want to know where the people that you're going to be trying to reach out to, your target audience, where they gather. I find the most success in Facebook too. Instead of creating my own community, I've joined other neighborhoods communities, and I post in there. There's other apps like Nextdoor, where everyone has to verify that they live in the neighborhood. You can create content or market directly to your neighbors through Nextdoor.
Yeah.
I haven't had success on Nextdoor, but one of our affiliate micro gyms, Garage Gym Jeff, for example, has had success on Nextdoor. So that's super sound advice, and I think each and every one of us need to be thinking that way, especially the micro gym owners. Where does your target on? Even if you're a home gym content creator, maybe you're not trying to attract, or maybe your target audience isn't other home gym content creators. Maybe it's like you do programming from your garage gym, and so you want athletes that would consume your programming or subscribe to your programming, for example.
So let me use an example. Bully Juice. Bully Juice has like 3 million subscribers on YouTube. He trains out of his home gym. He does his programming out of the home gym, but his subscribers, his clients, run the gamut. So his programs are designed to be doable at home, but you could also go to a public gym and do it, right? So it's one of those things for somebody like that. Honestly, you just need to do eye-catching stuff, and then maybe if you're doing that, you could post on YouTube Shorts and Instagram and TikTok, because you're going to get people to just see it, and that'll kind of raise your visibility. That's always cool. Another less popular thing now is writing for magazines. Heather Black, who owns Heather Black Fit, she has it was out of her house, and now she's got a small studio, but she writes for a local magazine, South Carolina something, right? And then also Southern Living magazine. So she's written articles for them. And so older people read magazines, and they're part of her client base.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? So they'll be like, oh, they're likely to see that and say, oh, let me reach out to such and such because she's in this magazine. She must be legitimate.
Yep.
So, hey, there's her email address, and I'm going to email her. See what I mean? So it's a matter of, like, if you want to get young athletes, you also want to, something that Zach Evanesh did years ago, and I think it still works. Reach out to the sports teams in your area and tell them, hey, I want to be the guy that does this. Recommend that I'll do the strength and conditioning for your athletes. So they show up at the beginning of the season ready to go. They're not going to get hurt. You won't lose them. Right. Just all I want you to just send people to me, and the parents can filter out whether this is, whether I'm worth it or not. Here are my credentials. Right.
Yeah.
So those are some, you just kind of have to think about it. You can't just say social media, because social media is a billboard.
Yep.
Right. So think about a billboard on the highway. Right. And no matter what it was, if you're not in the market for that thing, I pass the Rooms to Go billboard in Atlanta all the time, but I have zero interest because I don't care about Rooms to Go furniture, right? It doesn't matter that a lot of people saw it. I don't care about it. If you're nervous about content creation, you need to reach out to an expert and at least do a consultation with them. And just say, and I'm not talking about one of these things that say, well, we'll get you this many. If they can guarantee your followers, they're buying followers for you.
Right.
And those followers are going to disappear, and it's not going to help you really.
Right.
But reach out to somebody who does social media management and just say, hey, I want to do a consultation. So I'll tell you, like, example. We mentioned Kaizen DIY Gym. Kyle Devine, who runs Kaizen, also does social media management and consultation.
Yep.
Reach out to him and just say, hey, man, this is what I'm thinking about doing. This is my channel. What's your advice? And maybe you talk to him for 30 minutes. Maybe you talk for an hour. If he saves you an hour a day for the next 6 months,
it's worth it.
That is more than paid for itself.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right. So there you
go. What's the future for Garage Gym Life Media? What does that look like? And how can people reach you? How can people connect with you?
All right. The first thing is the future for us is in continue to build community, but ramping it up. We started a Discord called Garage Gym Life Discord. And it is different than the Home Gym Discord, which I also suggest you join. But it's different from the Home Gym Discord in that our focus is just on being a water cooler, a coffee shop. I want you to come over.
Awesome.
Tell me about your PRs. Tell me about that weird thing you just saw, and let's talk about it. We do voice channel stuff, which means basically it's like a what do you call those things? Like a party line phone call using Discord.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we just talk. Hey, what do you think about this? It's not so much me pushing stuff out to you. It's about you responding and us talking about stuff. We're going to be leaning more and more into that. We're going to start doing more live streaming.
Okay.
And connect that to the Discord. So, hey, we did a live stream, and maybe during the live stream you threw some questions out, or somebody threw a question out. Well, hey, I'm going to say, hey, let's head on over to the Discord. We're going to continue talking about this as long as you guys want to talk about it.
Awesome.
We are also going to be doing, once we hit 100 members, we're going to start doing giveaways in the Discord. So I'm interested in just building community.
Yeah.
because I think that that's the number one thing that we miss out as home gym owners. And in fact, I think that's part of the future of home gyms in general is people are going to they're going to continue to be looking for new ways to gather so that they can, and other ways to learn, new
Mhm.
ways to gather, to celebrate, their whatever, talk shop, and then also other ways to learn about whatever thing that's interesting to them. So things like Home Gym Con, but also local workshops, strong first powerlifting workshops by this guy or that girl, that kind of thing. I think that's the future of it. So I think providing places for people to gather is
Yeah.
important. If somebody wants to reach out to me, the best place to find me, quite honestly, is YouTube. Go YouTube Garage Gym Life Media, and I will pop right up. Uh, and I welcome people reaching out to me. I welcome your comments. That means more than you guys know,
Hmm.
because it directly affects the algorithm, but it also helps me in terms of understanding what you guys care about.
Mhm.
So hit me up, YouTube Garage Gym Life Media. I'm also on Threads, Garage Gym Life, Instagram, Garage Gym Life, Discord, Garage Gym Life.
Let's go.
If you go to Facebook, you will find Garage Gym Life, but I'm rarely on there. I'm not a Facebook fan, so that's not a, yeah.
Awesome. Well, John, I can't thank you enough for being our first guest on the podcast. This is an honor for me. I certainly know our audience, small as it may be, growing steadily, will appreciate that as well. Again, you're the man. Thank you for all the encouragement you put out every day into the universe, into the community. It doesn't go without being seen. So this is LFG RX podcast, where we go all in with home gym CEOs. Appreciate you all tuning in for our first ever podcast. More to follow. Thanks.